Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Colin's Punk Rock World podcast. My name's Colin. I do Colin's Punk Rock World. That's coming back very soon. Potentially, it's already back actually when you listen to this. And we also do CPRW Records. Today we are joined by our good friend Richard.
Hiya, hi everyone.
And we've got two new members of the team to introduce you to as well today. We've got Rich.
Hiya.
And we've got Ilse.
Hello.
Do Rich and Ilse want to have a quick introduction about themselves? So we'll go Rich first.
First, Ilse.
Oh, either or.
I really don't care. So, Rich, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so if we're talking about punk rock stuff, then I'm pretty old, so I was there pretty much at the beginning. If we think that punk, as we know it, started in the UK in 1976 for want of another conversation, then I was pretty much there. I was about 12 in 1976, so I was there at the inception, if you will, and I've seen it changed a lot over the preceding 50 odd years. So, well, that's pretty much it. Sorry, yeah.
Fair play.
Okay, but then me next. So I'm Ilse. I'm turning 27 this month. I live in Ede, the Netherlands. And music-wise, I work at two venues. My favorite band's probably Alkaline Trio right now for the past couple of years. And I think I've been going to shows for about 10 years now, starting with locals and kind of climbed my way up there. And yeah, I got to know the scene a bit better. So here I am now.
Here we are. Oh, lovely. Well, welcome, Rich and Ilse, to the gang. Hopefully you'll be hearing them plenty on other podcasts in the future as well. So get to know their voices and what they look like if you watch on the YouTubes. So today we are talking about cover songs. The song we've been planning to do for a while and we're just getting around to it. I think we're going to suggest 4 songs each as what we think it's like, or what's our favorite cover of all time. And then we're going to try and make a decision as a group to see what is sort of the favorite. But I think before we do that, we need to discuss what makes a good cover song. Anyone got any thoughts? Richard, this was your question. You go for it.
Go on, Rich.
No, I mean you, Richard.
Oh, my
this is going to confuse the hell out of me.
See, I think for me that like a good cover song it's got to take a good song to start with, and then it's just got to do something that either hits a different audience or finds a new way to sort of emotionally resonate based on what that original song was. And I think one of the ones that I've sort of brought up in my shortlist today does that beautifully, and I'll explain sort of why I think it works. But I think they've got to build on that bass song and do something that's new and make it original. And you think about like the really iconic cover songs. You think about like Johnny Cash's "Hurt." You know, it was a 9 Inch Nails song. Johnny Cash re-recorded it, and now Trent Reznor introduces it as a Johnny Cash song. And you think that's a remarkable turnaround in terms of the way that song sort of changed over the years. So I think for me, that's what it's got to do. It's got to do something new. It's got to do something inventive, but it's got to keep that essence, that spirit of the song real.
Yeah, I think I would mirror that. I think my thoughts on cover songs is I want to hear. I want to like you said, Richard. You got it's the choice first of all. Is who chooses the song that you're going to cover. But I think I want to hear. I don't want to hear a band's own variation on that song. I want to hear a very close likeness to the original, albeit with that band's own particular stamp on it. I don't want to hear another version of the song. Just one band's best attempt at what they think is a classic song.
Yeah, I think you can really go 2 ways with that approach because, for example, I really had to kind of find my own way in music or punk music in general. And there's just a lot of songs I didn't know the original, but they were like covering very well-known songs. And you kind of it helps you find a way to look for different things as well, while like people giving their own take to it, but then at the same time, maybe being able to translate that to the original, and also like the time and the context it was performed in, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, Yeah,
There's something to say for both, I think.
yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said. I don't really have anything else to offer on that. It's essentially like keep the spirit of the song alive, but make it your own. Don't just play it exactly the same. And I think that's a good cover.
I like being surprised. Like if like pick a random pop song and then like a punk band, and that doesn't really give me an idea of what it would sound like, and then you hear it and you're like, that's brilliant. I never would have thought of it, but it works and I like it. So
excellent. So Thursday, today we're gonna pick our favorite covers and try and work out the best. We did say when we were preparing this, we're not going to pick any bands that are essentially like professional cover bands, essentially like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes or Scartoon Network or anything like that, because it narrows the choices down quite a lot, so that's quite helpful. And that's that's it. Why? What else was I say? That's the thing. Just as a side note, my friend was telling me he booked shows the other day. There's Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. There's a band from Scotland who cover Me First and the Gimme Gimme songs, and they try and like pass it off as like their own covers, if that makes sense. So they messaged my friend, and he was like they didn't even sort of give any like notion that they might know who Me First and the Gimme Gimmes are. They think they're doing their own original thing.
Okay.
But they're called like the Gimme Gimme Gimmes or something like that.
It's not that much of a stretch either.
No, I think they wear Hawaiian shirts as well, and they'll do all that business. It's like, you're fooling no one. If you're trying to put a punk cover shows at like a punk venue, they're going to know who Me First and the Gimme Gimmes are. But yeah.
I also don't see why you wouldn't just let people know, like, hey, we play Me First and the Gimme Gimme songs.
Well, maybe they can charge a bit more. I don't know, but
that's maybe
that would be my guess. Just that I haven't been told that story and amusing me, so I thought I'd repeat it here. So we'll go around in a circle. I think I'll start because you did very good explanations of what makes a good cover. So my first one is going to be "What a Wonderful World," obviously originally by Louis Armstrong, but the Joey Ramone cover, because I think that's just a really, really like beautiful song, like with the meaning behind it as well, because like Joey Ramone was never an especially well man, and when he recorded this album, he had lymphoma, and I kind of feel like with like the meaning of "What a Wonderful World" and what a beautiful song it is, and saying what a wonderful world the world is, it just, there's a sense of beauty in that which I really enjoy. It doesn't, obviously Louis Armstrong's got quite a gravelly sort of style voice, and Joey Ramone's voice works really well on it as well, which I really enjoy. And yeah, I think not to be like, I'm assuming I'm not just super morbid, and I'm not the only person who's thought of this, but like songs to be played at my funeral, that's the one. So that's why I think it's just such an amazing cover, and I'm a big fan. I love the Ramones. I love Joey Ramone. So yeah, that's my pick number one.
I think that's a great choice, actually. And I think what you've said there is absolutely perfect. There's almost like that sort of retrospectiveness about him looking back over his life with the way the lyrics are and how successful he was, and everything the Ramones did. And I think you think of it in that context, and it's a beautiful song for that reason. I think that's a great shout, Colin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I nearly forgot about that this morning as well when I was preparing for this. I was literally looking at like punk covers playlists on Spotify. Oh yeah, I love that song. All right, Richard, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the one that I said I think is perfect for sort of explaining why I think punk covers really work, and why you choose a particular song. And I'm going for Spanish Love Songs and their version of Funeral, originally by Phoebe Bridgers. And the reason I'm saying that is it is the perfect song for Spanish love songs to cover. It's a really the subject matter is about grief, and you think everything that they do as a sort of a miserablist, sort of gruff punk band just really fits with their sort of persona and the songs that they put out. But the arrangement in the original is very sort of somber and melancholic, And you think about sort of the stages of grief, and it's almost like she's picking up on sort of that depression and acceptance stage of it. Whereas the way that Dylan and the Spanish love songs have approached it, it's very much in that anger stage of grief, and it just gives it a completely different context and a different feel, and you can feel his anger coming through in the song. So for me, it was sort of one of the first ones that I thought of when I was putting this list together, because I just think it captures all the essence of the original. You know, it's very much about grief, it's very much about sort of moving on, but it's in a different stage of that process, and it just gives it a different character completely. So yeah, that'd be my my first one.
That's a great show. I didn't even think of that one. So I don't know the original that well, but I remember seeing Spanish love songs play this song and just the crowd go wild for it.
Yeah.
What was the original again? Sorry, I missed that.
The original's by Phoebe Bridgers.
Okay, what's the song called?
Funeral.
Just Funeral. Okay.
Just Funeral. Yeah.
I'll check it out. I don't know it at all.
It's I mean, the song itself is beautiful, and you know, I think the original story behind it was a friend of hers had died from a heroin overdose, and so it's her coming to terms with the death of that person. But like I said, they just take it to a different stage completely.
Right.
Love it, completely love it. It's just beautiful. It's got everything you want from a Spanish love song. You know, it's got moments that you can really get behind in terms of sort of singing out loud and sort of wrecking your lungs. It's just amazing. Yeah, beautifully done.
I'll check it out.
The cover, but take on on that same message basically.
Yeah.
Okay, Ilse, do you want to go next for your one? Your first
Okay,
choice?
a very close position from your two songs to mine. My song is originally from the Muppet movie soundtrack. Alkaline Trio on the Green album. Basically, I'm not familiar with I've listened to the original since, but I don't have a very strong connection to like the Muppets. I didn't really grow up with it or anything, but I heard this song on an Alkaline Trio discography playlist, and it's possibly their most fun, happy song they've put out, and it's so much fun to listen to, and it's very catchy. It really catches that kind of like wholesomeness with a punk layer, and I wouldn't have thought it was a Muppet song if I wouldn't have known that it was from a Muppets cover album. So I really encourage anyone who hasn't heard it yet to go check it out.
What was the song? My audio went like it was a washing machine. Moving Right Along.
Yes.
By Weezer. No.
Alkaline Trio.
Oh.
But they're also on the album. Yeah.
Yeah. Right Along. Trio. So I'm writing all these down as I go so I can remember.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise it was a Muppets covers album, and I'm absolutely intrigued by that now.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different artists on it. I don't really know. I can't really tell any others, but it's an interesting cover concept.
That sounds incredible. Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, this is the first thing I'm doing when we finish this podcast. Now it's finding that album. I love the Muppets. Yeah. Okay. So, Rich, what was your first cover be?
Okay, my first shout on the punk covers would be probably one of my favourite songs from 1979, covered by one of my favourite modern day bands. That's Street Dogs, and their cover of the Skids' Into the Valley. The Skids originally did it back in 1979, and some of the lyrics were a little bit unintelligible because of the Scottish accents that were going on at the time. Richard Jobson, he's more famous now for other things than the Skids, quite possibly, but his lyrical output back in 1979 did leave quite a lot to be desired. But with the Street Dogs version, it's a much cleaner and better produced and a fuller production. And I think thanks to Mike McColgan's more intelligible lyrics, it certainly comes across much better than the Skids version, I think anyway. I did buy the original back in 1979 on white vinyl, if I remember correctly, a 7-inch. But I think the Street Dogs version is just, it's off their State of Grace album from 2008. And I think it is just absolutely seminal. It's such a quality cover of a quality song, you know. And even now, even today, all these years later, Dunfermline Athletic, which is where the Skids came from, it's their Dunfermline Athletic sort of a theme song. So when they come out to play, they'll come out to see the Skids Into the Valley. Charlton Athletic also use it, obviously, because they play at the Valley, as do Bradford City. So, you know, it's this whole sort of thing that I love about football, whole thing I love about punk, and everything sort of just comes together to produce a perfect storm that is the Street Dogs version of Into the Valley.
Yeah, I can picture the album. I know the song, but in my head it's gone. But now you've mentioned it, right. Charlton use it. I hate it because I am a Crystal Palace fan.
Right, okay.
we hate Charlton. But I do picture that. I can picture the song. I can remember. Like, I'm not going to sing because that will embarrass everyone, mostly me. But I can picture the song, and it's not going to really bug me for how like. Don't like that. It's like a slower chorus, isn't it? Am I making that up?
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not that slow. It's quite sort of pounding and like I say, unintelligible lyrics on the original. But like I say, with the Street Dogs version, it's much cleaner, more fuller sort of production of that great song.
So I do love Mike's voice. He's got one of my favorite voices in punk rock. Yeah. Anyone else got thoughts on the horrible Charlton song?
No, it's not one I'm familiar with, to be honest with you. So it's on the list to check out.
Yeah, if you listen to the both back to back, I think you can tell that the original was a 1979 production. It's a little bit tinny, as the sort of late 70s stuff was. But by the time sort of Street Dogs come into it in sort of in 08, then it's the production. You can hear it. It's so much better. It's really good, really good.
Right, I'll do my next one now. So this is one that's come out very, very recently, and I got so ridiculously excited about it. So, as I just mentioned, I'm a Crystal Palace fan, and we have a song that we use called "Glad All Over," which was originally by the Dave Clark Five, but on the Descendants' new old album they've just released, they cover that song, and I put that on the other day, and it made me happier than I've been in months. And I'm not a particularly sad guy. So yeah, just because it's one of my favorite bands covering like the Crystal Palace theme song essentially. So I had to include that in my like favorite covers of all time. I think they don't change it that much, but it does sound like a Descendants song. Like, I think if you didn't know what the original, you probably wouldn't know it's a cover. I don't think it's an especially famous song, but yeah, Descendants Glad All Over. Because again, it's more because it means a lot to me rather than it maybe being a really, really good song. But that's my choice.
I was going to say, I wasn't that impressed with that, to be honest. I think the album I really enjoyed. I thought it was a great album, and it was great to hear sort of old new Descendants stuff. It just bridges that gap from sort of their early days beautifully. But I just felt like it was, I don't know why it was on the album. It just didn't seem to fit for me. I don't know. And it's the last song on the album as well, isn't it? So you just kind of think, I don't know. Ooh, controversial there, Colin, I think.
Thought it might be.
Doesn't really do what you were hoping it would do.
Sorry?
Does Richard not like the song as much because it doesn't feel like it connects well to the rest of the album, or you just doesn't like what it's doing, basically?
No, I don't know. It's a strange one. I think, like Colin's point is probably right. It doesn't feel that different to the original. You know, it certainly doesn't feel like it does anything new with the song. I can understand why you love it as a Palace fan, Colin. I won't take that away from you. But it just seemed like a little bit of a safe cover, if you know what I mean. I just didn't feel wowed by it. And like I say, I think the rest of the album I thought was really good. It just, I don't know, it just didn't seem quite right. It felt like a little bit of an add-on.
I've still not listened to the whole album. I just saw Glad All Over on the track listing. I thought, I wonder, and then clicked, and it blew my mind. I'm still waiting for my vinyl to come. So Kings Road, sort it out. Everyone else seems to have got theirs, but mine got delayed till September. Which it's infuriating.
It's a lovely vinyl. It is a lovely vinyl, Colin. Sorry.
I better be getting the best, most sort of rare version of it, or I'm going to kick off.
I think it's worth mentioning that Glad All Over was also covered by the Rosillos, another very famous Scottish band from the late 70s, early 80s. That was on their first album, Can't Stand the Rosillos. Their version of Glad All Over as well, which is pretty much identical to the original.
Oh, I have to check that one out as well then. I know Crystal Palace FA Cup 1990 squad have also covered it. If you want to hear Ian Wright and John Solarco singing Glad All Over, I recommend it. I worry about these old football players are just going right over Ilse's head here.
I mean, any football player would go right over my head.
Okay, so we'll move on to Richard's second choice.
I'm imagining this is one that people aren't familiar with. But it's again just a great example of taking a song that has meaning to the original artist, and then the cover artist sort of doing something with it because that meaning still resonates with them, but doing something different. And I'm going for it wouldn't be a Colin's punk rock show if I didn't mention at some point, some sort of hardcore band from the 90s. So I'm going for Stretch Armstrong and Angels of the Silences, which was originally by Counting Crows. And it's just, like I say, it's a great example of a band covering the perfect song. They're not necessarily a Christian hardcore band, but a couple of members sort of were sort of very openly Christian. And the song itself was written by the Adam Duritz from Counting Crows, is a reflection on sin. So those sort of moments when you're sort of lying in bed at night and you're thinking about the things that you've done wrong and reflecting back on it. And I just think for them to take that as a Christian hardcore band, think, well, actually, how can we sort of make it into a real hardcore song? And they've done it amazingly. It's got beatdowns, it's got gang vocals. It's just a really, really solid hardcore song anyway. They just sort of make it work so well. Great cult band, one of those bands that people love. They're a great gateway band into sort of hardcore. They're really melodic. They've got loads of sing-along songs. If people aren't familiar with them, I would absolutely say go and check them out because they're just so much fun as a hardcore band. They wrote some amazing songs, like a little bit of youthcore kind of stuff, but I say go out and listen to them. They should have been huge like Bane or Boy Sets Fire. And they've got some songs that are just incredible. But for me, that was the cover. They've always done covers. They've done that, and they did Express Yourself. So the sort of hip hop kind of rap song, which they did an amazing job of, which is sort of again a bit of a strange one to do together. But for me, Angel of the Silences, Counting Crows, beautiful song anyway. They've just done something different with it, made it into a proper hardcore beatdown song.
I do not know either song.
I don't either. Worth checking out though, by the sound of it.
Yeah,
it is. It really is.
I do know about Stretch Armstrong. I've seen them play a cover on a YouTube video with. Do you know a band called Whole Wheat Bread? They were like a they sort of delve between like pop punk and they do a bit of like what was the old Little John's version of rap called? Crunk or whatever it was. And they did I saw them play a cover of Roots Radical on YouTube once. So that's what I know about Stretch Armstrong.
I think they were probably most famous. They did a cover of Pink's "Get the Party Started," which was weird. I think is the only way I'll describe that. That was one that I don't think quite hit the mark. But yeah, Angel of the Silences certainly does. Great song.
That sounds brilliant. I'm keen to check them out. Where's my because we're running out of time in this session, so I need to do an advert and I am not prepared, but there we go. That's not the right one. So Manchester Punk Festival is still selling tickets. It's next Easter. We spoke about it in the last 2 episodes, but they've got loads of really good bands, like just headliners. They've got Wilhelm Scream, Martha, Joy of the Cat, Belvedere, Red City Radio, and I think it's Shai Hulud. I think that's how you pronounce that. I might be wrong. Anyone able to correct me?
Yeah, Shai Hulud.
Excellent. And they've just added Jeff Rosenstock to the festival as well. So that's going to be quite the occasion. As I say, it's Easter next year. Tickets are well over 60% sold now. If anyone is planning on coming, I seriously suggest you do. It's always one of the best weekends of the year. Always a million amazing bands and just wonderful people. So yeah, and tickets are, I forget what the price is, but they're very, very well priced. So yeah, come to MPF, please. Right, and we'll finish part 1 and we'll be back in just a second with part 2. Hello, welcome to part 2 of episode 25 of the CPRW podcast. We're still talking about cover songs. Ilse is going to suggest the next one.
Yes, okay, next one is definitely this one. I would be very confident. I don't know the process, so I picked the cover of the album, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Obviously, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts have done many covers. I think this is the first song I heard of them, and it's just so iconic. That's why I had to. It was really hard to narrow it down to picking one, but eventually, I figured going with this one because it's just so iconic, as I said.
Which one was it?
I love rock and roll.
I love rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's a cover.
Yes.
Oh, things you learn.
By the Arrows. Okay. 1975. That's upstairs.
Ah, I did not know that.
But that's a great shout, isn't it? Because I never realised that was a cover. You just instantly, as soon as you mentioned Joan Jett, that's exactly where your head goes, isn't it? That song is just iconic. Yeah, they've done an amazing job of it if it's a cover.
Who was the original then? Who did the original if it wasn't them? I assumed it was them, to be fair.
The Arrows. I'm not that familiar with them, but apparently it's they're the original performer of it. So.
Oh. See, I know Britney Spears did a cover of it, and I just assumed she was covering Joan Jett.
But I feel like it's the same with Cyndi Lauper still performing her song. Like everyone thinks she's the original performer, but that's actually a cover too.
Oh,
Well, that's ruined my childhood right there. That wasn't Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do have to say, because the original is actually sung by a man, and I think that really takes away all of the girl power vibe she gives to it. So I'm very glad that most people think she's the original performer. Sorry, everyone.
Now that just sounds creepy, doesn't it? If it was a guy singing that, that doesn't sound quite right, does it?
Especially given the time. It was. I'm not sure when it was. When the original was done, but no, I don't like the sound of it.
I'm just blown away.
So yay, Cyndi Lauper! Just a special shout out to her.
Ah, well, I mean, the Joan Jett, I love rock and roll. That's a great song. Now I need to go listen to the original. I mean, that I guess really shows what a great cover it is, doesn't it? Because if none of us knew it was a cover in the first place.
That does lead on quite nicely to when I reviewed that Neighborhood Brats album that I sent you the copy of a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Their last song on their album was actually a Joan Jett cover as well. So everything is quite cyclical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have a bad reputation. That's a Joan Jett song. Is that a cover or is that her own?
I want to say it's her own song.
Okay,
but
good.
She's done a lot of covers, so I really have to say.
Oh, that's good. That's some of my world still together and no illusions shattered there. All right, Rich, what's your second one?
Okay, going back to the early days, really, this goes back to 1980, and this is Dead Kennedys' version of Viva Las Vegas, the Elvis track from 1964. Ever since they've been together from sort of 78, 79, Dead Kennedys have always had this in their repertoire. It's what they practiced when they were doing band practice. They'd always do their own version of Viva Las Vegas, and I don't know whether any of you has heard it or not, but it's very similar. It's got a very similar melodic structure to Presley's original version, and it does stay the same pretty much throughout. But I think what they do with it is they strip it down a bit more. It's more just sort of a drums, bass, and guitar than Elvis's version. And there's been some satirical lyric changes as well by Jello Biafra, because he starts talking about speed and cocaine, keeping up all night, gambling, and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's just absolute thudding, a cover song of a classic Elvis Presley song. You know, it's worth mentioning as well that if you've ever seen the Hunter S. Thompson film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that sparked the career of a very famous American actor, which has totally left me now. But they're the version. So yeah, that's it. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, when they're driving through the desert, the version of Viva Las Vegas you hear in the background is the Kennedys version rather than the original Elvis version, which I think is a great shout. But again, it's very similar to the original. There's just a few sort of nuanced tweaks to make it Dead Kennedy's own. But you know, they'd always played it in their repertoire, always played it in their set from pretty much their inception. Yeah, absolute quality cover.
Yeah, I know the original because my mum is a massive Elvis fan, but I've never heard the Dead Kennedys version. But now,
give it a listen.
That's a really, really good shout. That is a really good shout. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again, Ilse. I can't hear you sometimes. The volume keeps dropping in and out.
I'm not sure if there's something I can do about that right now.
It's fine at the moment, but every now and again it goes really sort of fuzzy. I don't know.
No, my point being anyway that I will definitely check it out after we're done here.
Yes, it's the first song on the second side of Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables, their first album.
No, it is a great cover. I almost went with because I think Elvis songs do lend themselves really nicely to punk, and I in my top 4 I almost went for a Veil Suspicious Minds.
Okay, yeah.
Brilliant. I just, like you say, the arrangements, the compositions, the lyrics, everything about them just sort of works with the punk scene. So yeah, I'm completely, how that one slipped my mind, I have no idea. Yeah, great show. And you're right, again, just sort of the lyric changes and the way it's used in Fear and Loathing really sits with what that film's about. Yeah, really, really good show. That was the first time I heard it. Loved it.
Brilliant. All
right, I'll go next then. We're going to go for another one that was released this year, I think, because these are the ones that are in my mind. So I think I don't know when the original was released. It was sort of either late 90s or sort of early 2000s. The band are American. The video was them on like scooters up a beach somewhere in America. They're a band called Len, and the song is "Steal My Sunshine." Does everyone know that song? It's one of the greatest pop songs ever written. Oh, this is going to go horribly wrong. But anyway, the band Ramona, who are based in Philadelphia, they released a really good album on Red Scare a couple of years ago. They've just covered it for a compilation. And it's one of my favorite pop songs, and I love Ramona. And when it came out again, it just made me really happy. And I want that from a cover song. It can be just a bit silly, I guess, and just be fun. And that's what this song is. I mean, the original, like the band, it was a complete one-hit wonder. And it's just, I guess it's got like a cult sort of following to it now, though, where if you know it, you love it, or you just don't know it. I think that's and I guess in this circle, it's only me that knows it. So this is
there's no in between, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely peaked on my first choice, but would die on the sword. It's a really good, like, both songs I love, but it's also probably really cheesy 90s pop originally. So you might listen to this and think, what the hell are you talking about?
Those are some of my favorites, so you know.
I love it. And even if you guys don't.
But yeah, Ramona's great, so I'm sure they've done a wonderful job on this song too. Yeah,
the male and female vocals just work really well with it as well. I mean, they're a bit more, obviously less well produced, and I think they did record it during like lockdown, so it might have been a case of sort of remote recording it and all sticking it all together. But yeah, I like it, and I'm sticking with it. Richard just looks disgusted at me.
I can't picture the song at all. I can't even picture the
Oh,
original.
you'll know
I'm
it.
completely lost on this one.
We're of a reasonably similar age, aren't we? You must know it.
I think I'm about 10 years older than you, Colin, but thank you very much for that. That was lovely.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm surprised you don't. That's another thing for you to do when we finish doing this. I will say, like, when we at the end of this podcast and after you listen to it, we are going to attach a playlist with all these songs and probably some more so you can check them out, so you have an idea of what we're going on about. Kind of like a listen along if you want to jump between windows and pausing and shit. That would be difficult, but yes. Okay, that's my one. I think I've sold it terribly, but it's great. Richard, what's your next one? Save me.
So I will save you, Colin, and I'll impress you because it's a ska song. So
what a time to be alive.
I know. I bet you weren't expecting me to go down there today, were you? Again, it's a dark song, and it's probably the worst example of choosing a song for a cover version for a ska band, because it's a song about your girlfriend having an abortion and then committing suicide. That should not work in a ska song at all, but it does. So I've gone for The Freshman by Mustard Plug with by Verve Pipe, and it is just brilliant. It's fast, it's upbeat, it's fun. You want to sing along to it, you want to dance to it. And you think, why have you taken a song that was practically by a band that was sort of the 90s Nickelback and turned it into an absolutely monster ska song? Just brilliant. I absolutely love it.
That's such a great shout. I thought about that one earlier, then my mind just did a blank. I definitely would have included it. It's so good.
It's a great song. I mean, they're probably my favourite ska band anyway. I just love Mustard Plug. I love Dave's vocals. He's got a real graveliness to it. I mean, he should really sing in a proper gruff punk band, I think. But yeah, I just think the first time I heard that, I just loved it instantly. And it was, I think I heard it just after Pray for Mojo came out. I think it was sort of in between Pray for Mojo and Yellow Number 5. And I was just like, this is incredible. Yeah, probably one of my favourite covers.
I can't believe all the time I've known you now, we've never nerded out over Mustard Plug.
Yeah, absolutely adore them. Yeah, great band, lovely guys as well, the nicest people. So yeah, it's great to be able to say that one.
Yeah, I was obviously in the 90s, like ska bands got massive because of covers, didn't they? And like obviously Mustard Plug had this in their pocket, and they didn't want to send it to radios because they didn't want to become known as another like ska band that does covers. So they like.
Is that true?
Yeah, I was that book that came out recently, In Defense of Ska, by Aaron Carnes. Like he writes about that in there, because obviously you got like Real Big Fish and Say Ferris especially were like they got their success basically because of covers. Obviously, Real Big Fish especially had like Beer and Sell Out, but Take On Me, everyone knows that song.
Yeah.
And then obviously Say Ferris did Come On Eileen, and they do a magnificent job of it. But yeah, so Mustard Plug didn't want to be known as another ska band that was like famous for a cover, which you feel like now if they'd have gone that route, they would have been maybe looked at in the same sort of bracket as likes of Real Big Fish.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting because I didn't know the original. This was the thing. I think it was sort of a big sort of American college radio song more than anything. It sort of fit that sort of group more than anything, rather than being sort of a massive sort of pop song. So I'm really surprised because it was only a couple of years after the original came out they put that cover out, wasn't it? I think it was like 99, I think.
Was it even on an album? Did they put it on an album?
No, I don't think it ever. I got it on a sort of Punk Chartbusters, I think was the name of the album. And there's so many great songs on there as well. But you know, Mustard Plug was one of the reasons of buying that album anyway, because just love them. But yeah, I did not know that, and you're exactly right. If they'd have put that out, I think they would have had a very different trajectory in their career, which is a shame because those first two albums as well, Evildoers and Pray for Mojo, are just incredible. I think if people had heard that song and then listened to those albums, you'd have fallen in love with them, wouldn't you?
Oh, I have. I did. One of the best. Did anyone else got any thoughts after me and Richard just went on full on nerdy mode for a second there?
No, I think that Evil Doers by Mustard Plug, I think, is an absolute seminal album. I think it's an absolute quality.
It is. We've spoken before about Catch-22's Keys Be Nights, Colin. I would probably hold Evil Doers on par with that. And even then, I think Pray for Mojo is my favourite. Because I just love it. It's just got there's a real heart to that album. It's just wonderful stuff.
They're the best. I love them. Hopefully they can come and tour the UK soon, or as soon as they're allowed. Ilse, any thoughts on Mustard Plug?
I have nothing interesting to add to this conversation.
Okay, well, we'll move on to your next pick then, if you want, before we just talk about Mustard Plug loads more.
Right, okay.
Alienate everyone else.
Up next, basically all four of my picks do quite a lot of cover songs, so I kind of went about like selecting the bands and then pick a cover. And it was kind of hard to narrow down with this one for me, because I've picked New Found Glory, who have released 3 different cover albums thus far, doing soundtracks. And I went with like the original song is from the Pretty Woman soundtrack, and it's A King of Wishful Thinking by Go West.
Nice.
I just listened to the original yesterday, and because sometimes I'm kind of like disappointed when I hear an original song that's like a couple of decades older than the version I've heard. But this one's a lot of fun too. There's a lot of like the wide oversized blouse and a lot of shoulder and head dancing. It's a lot of fun, but the song itself, it's very uplifting while acknowledging having to get over something. So it's a great song to listen to if you know the original, or if you don't, it doesn't really matter, I think. But I think they do generally, New Found Glory does a great job covering all sorts of different songs. So I went with this one.
Which cover album of New Found Glories is it on?
This is part 2, From the Screen to Your Stereo, part 2.
So I remember I had number 1, and that had Glory of Love.
Right.
And My Heart Will Go On. I remember enjoying that one a lot and annoying various family members for putting that on, because they're big like pop music fans, and so that was my compromise, just fast versions of pop songs, and everyone in my head would win, but apparently not. But New Found Glory I've always been really good at cover songs.
Exactly. I mean, they've done their latest one. They put Let It Go on there, and what else? Accidentally in Love from the Shrek movie. The video for Let It Go is a lot of fun too to watch, by the way. They go all in.
Nice.
I think that's a great shout. I think you're right. It's such a great 80s song, isn't it? Like proper big sort of power ballady kind of song, and it just really, really works. I almost on my long list, I did have one of the New Found Glory covers on there, and I was thinking Never Ending Story. So I just think again, it's sort of your childhood, isn't it? It's sort of growing up watching that film, and you hear the song and the way they've done it. I think it's just fantastic. So but I think that's a really good shout, actually. Really good shout.
Yeah, I actually switched quite, like I think yesterday. I was planning to do Crazy for You by Madonna first, but eventually went with this one, yes, because I just like it a little bit better. Yeah.
All right. Rich, your third choice, please.
Third choice is from an album by Guns N' Roses called The Spaghetti Incident that came out in '93, and I think it was either just before or just after their Use Your Illusion album, when they were sort of really hit the big time. But it's basically a whole album of covers, and they do covers of the likes of UK Subs, New York Dolls, Dead Boys, Stooges, Misfits. But the one that really stands out for me is New Rose by The Damned. As we all know, New Rose was one of the first British punk tracks to be released on vinyl back in October 1976. First track on the second side of their first album, Damned, Damned, Damned. And I think that the Guns N' Roses version, whatever you think of Guns N' Roses, is irrelevant, to be perfectly honest. But I think this is virtually identical down to the individual notes and the pounding drums. It's identical. And I think if you're going to pick a track like New Rose, which is going to be in my top 10 of all-time songs ever, then it's got to be identical. Otherwise, why bother? And even the opening refrain of "Is she really going out with him?" With Dave Vanian says it, in The Damned, and you've got this sort of American version with Axl Rose saying it in the intro to Guns N' Roses version. But apart from that, the song is just absolutely identical, from the pounding drums, all that. And I remember a few years, quite a long time afterwards, actually, Captain Sensible, the bassist or guitarist with The Damned, was asked, have you ever heard Guns N' Roses version of New Rose? And he said, when did that come out? And they said, it's sort of the late 90s, mid 90s, something like that. And he went, oh no, I never listened to music after 1980. And that was it. He probably had heard it, to be fair, but he's always been a little bit like that. And he's a Crystal Palace fan, and the Captain Sensible.
What a guy!
Yeah, like I said, I think it's so similar to an absolutely classic track that I don't think you can find anything wrong with it, to be perfectly honest. But there you go.
I need to check that out, mostly now because I've discovered a new Palace fan, and we have to support each other. I didn't even know Guns N' Roses did a cover album, so I'm learning so much today.
Yeah, so the UK subs, they did a version of Down on the Farm, quite a famous UK subs track. Stooges, I can't remember what the Stooges song was now. They did a couple of Misfits numbers, real sort of old school stuff, to be fair. But yeah, it's not a bad album. It's not a bad album for a metal band.
Yeah, I can't imagine Guns N' Roses playing punk songs. I'm really intrigued by this, actually. What I think about it, like what they love a solo, don't they, and a nice wail, and that's not really punk.
No, it's not. But I think their whole. I think musically they're far removed from punk. But I think as a group, as a gang, as a group of blokes, then I think they come across as quite punk rock. I think, with that gang mentality.
Yeah. Now that's really intrigued me. I'm gonna have a busy night tonight. I'm supposed to be packing for a holiday. That's not going to happen, is it?
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because we're talking about sort of songs that the punk scene's covered, but I think that's a really interesting take on it, because you've also then got Metallica covering the Misfits as well, haven't you? And you just think, actually, sort of think about how influential some of these artists have been, sort of over the years, and what we've sort of as a group, as a sort of collective of people have been able to contribute back into other scenes. So I think that's a really interesting take on it. It's a great show. I remember having that album as a kid and hating it. Because it wasn't like Use Your Illusion, because it just didn't have the big songs on it.
No, it didn't.
And then I discovered punk, and I was like, oh no, actually, it's actually quite good, isn't it? So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, good take.
I think it's just a great album, a cover of the album as well. Just a big plate of just spaghetti. It's just what an absolute crap cover for an album, but it sells it.
Right. So my fourth and final choice. I've just thought of a really good one, but I haven't prepared. I mean, I've not prepared much for this, let's be honest. But I'll leave that one because I've already got I've got Joey Ramone. Do I want to put another Ramones song in?
Oh, you can never have too many Ramones.
You can never have too many Ramones. Actually, I've got one that I'm very surprised Richard hasn't done yet on this list. And it's a really big one, but it's not one of my favorites, we'll say. I know, we'll go with my pals. That's if in doubt, go with your pals. So I don't know if you all know this. There's a ska band from not far from here, Hemel Hempstead, called Codename Colin. And they did a cover of Just the Day by Feeder. And if Richard, you know Feeder, surely.
Yeah. Feeder are just one of those bands that I think they had the commercial success and they just couldn't bank it. They had some amazing songs. They were really, really good. Really great live band as well. Incredible live band. But yeah, just sort of a bit of a shame they didn't really sort of have the success that they probably warranted. yes, good shout is that. I've not heard.
Yeah,
not heard the cover version.
They absolutely smash it. Like all the bit they just do with the horns, and it's just one of those songs. Like such a within, I guess, like growing up as like in the Britpop indie sort of era. Like again, I thought late 90s, early 2000s again. I guess that came out. And so that was one of the like songs, wasn't it? And so then hearing like a ska band covering, like let's be honest, ska bands are still of our age or my age. You don't get many younger ska fans now who will have any idea what the song is, like the original. So when you see them play it, the crowd just goes off because it's all people who remember that song when it first came out. And it works really well as a ska song. Like Codename Colin as well, they do loads of really good. I mean, like most ska bands, I feel like have a cover in their arsenal. So, but yeah, this one is really, really fun, and they're good friends of mine, and they've had my name. They're not named after me, sadly, but yeah. I just want to throw this one out here as well. This ain't my choice, but it's also a great one. A band called King Punch, who also do loads of covers. They do on their last EP. They did a version of Chop Suey by System of a Down.
Ooh,
which a song should not work as a ska song, but really they do a great job of it. So that's a little special mention for them as well.
Yeah, this seems to be, like, to me, a song that is again very iconic and just seems very hard to cover or like pour into a different genre. So I'm very curious to hear that.
I think with like ska bands and like their ability to cover almost any song really shows like what good musicians ska bands actually are, because I mean, ska's becoming fashionable again now, but it was like the sort of little stepchild of punk rock, wasn't it? It was like it wasn't cool to like ska.
And there are many memes.
there are many.
Yeah.
So
I think that shows sort of the versatility of the horns, though, doesn't it? Because you can create a number of, you can sort of drag that noise out, or you can make it really short and punctuated. So I suppose sort of Chop Suey, when you think about it, it's probably one that would work as a ska song. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it is very stop-start. It's very staccato in sort of the way it is. But I've got to listen to that. That sounds like it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I remember like one of the first times I saw them, they played it, and I was like, they're not doing this song, surely. And then they did, and it was just brilliant. So, yeah, I get to King Punch. They're headlining my first gig back at the time of recording this on Saturday. So I'm very excited to see them. It's going to be a fun time, and I can finally get rid of this beard. And I can't wait.
Exciting times.
Keep the beard, Colin. Keep the beard.
It's more the hair that's pissing me off, to be honest. I don't know if you've seen how long it is now, but I've got a ponytail now. Yeah, like 18 or 19 months now without shaving is a stupid idea. So yeah, Richard, what's your final choice, mate?
So my final choice, I think this is the one that you probably had in mind that I'd have in my locker, and it is the Bouncing Souls, Lean on Sheena, which was originally by Avoid One Thing. I mean, so many people say that this is their favourite Bouncing Souls song, and you think, when you think about how many great songs that they've written over the years, it's just I think it just shows how great the original song was. I only heard the original very recently. Avoid One Thing, just as an interesting fact, was actually a bit of a side project by one of the guys from Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. So he was one of the people behind that. And I didn't really like the original. It just felt like it was lacking something, a little bit of that punch that the Bouncing Souls give it. I love sort of Greg's lazy singing, sort of his own vocal style. And I think everything they do in that song is an improvement on the original. It's always a highlight of a Bouncing Souls show. Greg always lets the crowd sing most of the verses to it because he's lazy. But it's just such a great anthem. I absolutely love it. Great song.
Yep, fair. I figured someone would pick this because it's like iconic song now. Like, I mean, sometimes I get kind of irritated that it gets so much love, not because they don't, not that they do a really, really great job of it, but as you say, they have so many of their originals as well. And I feel like you say, I feel like a lot of people don't realize it's a cover.
Yeah,
and they should.
Yeah. And should we also mention that it's off probably the Bouncing Souls either first or second best album? the other one being Hopeless Romantic. Do we need to,
Richard,
mention that?
Let's not go there again. We argue about this every time. Not just every time we're on camera. Every time we talk, we have this argument. We all know the best Bouncing Souls record is Summer Vacation. And number 2 is Maniacal Laughter.
But that's it, isn't it? I think that it shows sort of the broad appeal of the Bouncing Souls, and I think that song just really encapsulates all of that. And it's got that, the crowd loves singing it. You love sort of singing it with people next to you. It's just a great song.
Does anyone else have thoughts on this song?
No, I don't think I do.
Really.
No.
Okay.
They're definitely one of those bands I need to I've heard
Sorry,
of.
Richard.
It's quite right. It's interesting. I have this conversation with my brother all the time, and he goes, all Bouncing Soul songs sound exactly the same, and it's the only one that he really, really loves. So, it's one of those. I can imagine very few people have got unless you love the Souls, have got a strong opinion on them. So, it's a good shout.
They're definitely one of the bands I've been meaning to do a deep dive on, so I'll keep it in mind.
Start with Summer Vacation.
Just beat me to that.
I'm staying out of this for now. Yeah.
Although I know your brother. I've been to more gigs with him than I have you, and I now have less respect for him for his views on the Bouncing Souls. So sorry, Rob.
He won't thank me for saying that out loud. So yeah, sorry, Rob.
I thought he was a respected music journalist, and
he's a music journalist. Less of the respected, please.
All right, Ilse, what's your? Actually, we're running out of time. We'll do another break. That timed quite well. I think that's how it worked before. I have what can I advertise? What's going on in the world of punk rock? Till the Fest is coming up. Till the Fest is a London put together by Ollie Ward, who does Till the Wheels, to celebrate his, I think, 20th year promoting gigs in and around London. I think in Norfolk as well. And the lineup is just absolutely stacked. It's like just highlights. I'm just going to read off the air now. We've got Kildren, Lightyear, Filaments, Bob Villain, JB Conspiracy, Call Me Malcolm, Just Say Nay, Goodbye Blue Monday, Barstool Preachers, Crazy I'm Nervous, Good Friend, Sam Russo, Drone, Spoilers, bloody loads. And that's happening in South London. It's taking place at the New Cross Inn and the Amersham Arms, and somewhere called the Matchstick Pie House, where I have no idea where that is, but I'm assuming South London. And that's happening on the 8th to the 10th of October. There are still some tickets left, but I don't think there's many. Along with the bands, they're also having a five-a-side football tournament, which I am very excited about, until I come to play and realize I'm the unfittest person going at the moment. I think they're also having a table tennis tournament as well, and there's going to be like a punk rock flea market, and it's just going to be a lovely, lovely sort of celebration of like one of London's best DIY promoters. And Ollie's just a really, really lovely man as well. So if you can come, if you're in the area, or if you fancy staying a few nights in London, I really recommend that. I think tickets are really well priced as well, but I can't remember what they are. So, but Facebook, you'll find it. Till the Fest. Okay, and we'll join you in just one more second for part 3. Hello, and welcome to part 3 of episode 25 of the CPRW podcast. We are still talking about covers, and we've got Ilse's going to go with her final choice, then we'll go for Rich's, and then we'll try and pick a favourite out of what we've suggested. So, Ilse, the floor is yours.
Yes, my final choice, and I will warn you in advance, I will also do a special shout out just like you did, Colin. But my final choice is from an Italian band, pop punk band, Vanilla Sky. They are fairly well known. Maybe you've heard of them before, but if not, don't be afraid. There's still a lot to find out. But they've also done a lot of covers in their existence, basically doing a pretty good job of it, if I say so myself. And the cover I picked also because it's like, for them, such an iconic song with a very iconic video, if I say so myself. They covered Rihanna's Umbrella in 2007.
Wow.
And they basically copied the video. It was absolutely brilliant. and it's just done very well. Just like a thing, I don't want to hate on pop music too much, but a lot of times it doesn't really catch me as much as pop punk does, because it's just, I need a bit more energy, and like I need more to happen basically to be really interested and captured by it. And I feel like they did a great job with that song. And I do like the original. I do want to point that out. So please don't come at me, Rihanna fans. But yeah, Umbrella by Vanilla Sky.
I'm aware of Vanilla Sky. I feel like they just recently did a re-release of something on Disconnect Records, and probably some other European labels. I may be thinking of another.
Possible. I'm not aware what they're up to currently, but
I swear I see that. I saw that. I have the internet at my fingertips, but I'm not going to check. But I do really actually want to hear this song now, because like Umbrella's, I think, one of like a very iconic pop song of the last 10 years, I guess now.
2007.
Yeah. Was it that long? Christ.
Wow.
Is it that long ago?
That's the thing about but that's the thing about a really good pop song, isn't it? Because they just, they're just timeless. And that's obviously sort of why we were thinking it was, I would have probably said the same as you, Colin, sort of probably 7 years or something like that. So yeah, for it to be the best part of 15 years old, really.
Wow.
That's what we're saying, isn't it? That's insane. And I feel really old now. Thanks, Ilse.
Sorry.
Yeah, that means I was 21 when that came out, or 20. How old am I now? 35. Yeah. So, wow, that's insane. Mind blown.
And now, if I can throw in my special mention, I really wanted to include them in my top 4, but they're not an actual band, so it seemed a little rude to actual bands to not mention to do that. I'm not sure if you've heard of the series We Are Lady Parts, which has been that had come out, I want to say 2 months ago, centering a punk band with like Muslim women who are, it's very cool. I don't do it justice, but they covered in the series Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, and it's so good. It's very well done. It's, I don't know, like, check out the series, but especially this cover.
No, we are meaning to check out that series because I've heard good things about it. So do you know Mill and Colin also did a cover of 9 to 5?
Oh no, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, Mill and Colin did a cover of it as well. I think it's more like they made it a bit ska, like it was like when they played a bit more ska in their sound, but I just know things about bands. So Colin in their name, I think. I'm very vain. Yeah, I need to check out. I think over here it was on Channel 4, wasn't it? So it'll be on all 4.
I watch it on. But I think so. Yeah. Channel 4.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that. So we will get around to watching that when we get bored of watching Taskmaster repeats. That's what we're currently doing. Okay, Rich, what's your final choice?
There's been quite a lot of talk already about ska and ska punk and that. So I think to finish off, it's quite a nice one to finish off with. Mad Caddy's version of ABBA's SOS from their first EP called This Holiday's Been Cancelled from 2000. So that's 21 years ago, which is absolutely mental. First album, Quality Softcore, second album, Duck and Cover, but this was their first sort of 5-track EP. ABBA released in 1975, but again, like I said with all my choices, it's so similar as to be negligible. To be fair, I think it's less melancholic, shall we say, than ABBA's mid-70s version, and they provide a more sort of spiteful and energetic version. But the arrangement is identical, very similar structure. That the melody is the same. Obviously, you've got that ska edition of the horn section, which replaces some of the guitar parts, and I think it's an organ that replaces the tinkly piano at the beginning of the song. But it's just full of fun. The EP itself, I don't know if anyone's heard it or not. Holiday's Been Cancelled. It's just from start to finish. It's an absolute quality output by Mad Caddies. I've seen them a couple of times over the years, and they always put on an absolutely phenomenal show as well. In fact, most recent album called Dirty Rice. That is an absolute quality album if you're looking for something new to listen to. Absolutely love Mad Caddies, but this just takes SOS to a whole decent level. You know, a little bit dirge filled for the ABBA version, but this certainly brings the song out brilliantly.
Yeah, Mad Caddies always so good at covers. I don't think I know this cover they've done, but did you hear the covers album they released a couple of years ago? Like Punk Rock Steady?
Punk Rock Steady, yeah. I've heard a couple of tracks of it. I've not actually listened to the whole thing, but yeah.
Like they did and Charlotte from Just Say No reminded me of the song when I put a thing out on Instagram the other day asking for punk cover songs because other people were doing my research for me. But but she suggested the Green Day song, like Mad Caddies covered that. And they do a really good job of it. And they Think Florida Sink they do as well, like the Against Me song. And Caddies.
I love that album. I think it's just put a great spin on loads of iconic songs. But the one that really stood out for me, I thought, was Sorrow, the Bad Religion song.
Yeah.
Because I mean that was a song that came out 20 years into their career, and it's still probably the biggest song that they've actually managed to produce in terms of sort of being radio friendly and popular. And then the Caddy spin on it, I thought was just brilliant. You know, the way they sort of slowed it down, and I love that album. It's a great album. And it's a great shout, actually. I've not heard their cover of SOS, but I mean, everyone loves a bit of ABBA, don't they? So I really need to check that out.
Yeah, I think, like I said before, I think it's less melancholic than ABBA's version, but you know, you've got that energy that the Mad Caddies sort of provide in all their tracks, you know.
They were supposed to come over last year, weren't they? I mean, loads of bands were supposed to come over last year, but Mad Caddies were one of the ones I was really, really looking forward to.
Yeah.
I think it was like the week of we were supposed to be at Punk Rock Holiday, and then on the Saturday we flew back and Mad Caddies were playing in London, and we were going to try and like just get off the plane and go to a gig. And in hindsight, it was probably going to be a really, really stupid idea, and I would have felt horrific, but it would also been a lot of fun. So
absolutely.
These are the problems now of like, as I'm getting older, I must remember I'm not like 25 anymore, and sleep is more important than it was once upon a time ago. But
going back to what Richard was saying about Bad Religion, though, I was on holiday with my wife in Cornwall about 3 years ago now, and Bad Religion were playing in Bristol, and I decided it was worth a 7-hour round trip to go from Cornwall to go and see Bad Religion play, and then obviously not drink because I had to drive straight back to Cornwall again. Mrs. Bailey wasn't overly infatuated with that, but you know, some things you just got to do it. Sometimes you just have to.
When Bad Religion come to town, you've got to go if you can.
I think so.
Right. So now I guess we've got to try and decide a favourite. I guess obviously don't pick your own. Then we'll try and work it out. I mean, is it on anyone's list? Has anyone got anything that someone else has suggested on their own list? Does that make sense if I worded that well? Probably not. Because I think
we all came up with sort of quite original stuff, I think.
Yeah. So I have Lean on Sheena on my short list.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's just a great iconic song. So for me, I would probably say that's the one that would be my favourite, just because of the souls. But obviously, I can't choose my own. So you've put paid to that, Colin.
Yeah. This is a tough decision.
Well, I'm going to go, if I may, I've already made a decision. So I'm going to go with Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll, because first of all, I didn't know it was a cover. And it just takes me right back to when I was a young lad first getting into music. So I think that's an absolute quality shout.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
Yeah, I can't either. I think that's a really good reason. I think actually, you think about everything that we've talked about today, it's because we love rock and roll as a group, and sort of the meaning behind it is very much about sort of our community. So yeah, that's a really good show. And again, didn't know it was cover.
Yeah. So I think we've decided that would be the one, but for the sake of just for the fun of it, I guess, Ilse, what would your one be out of what we've suggested?
Well, this is the reason why I posed the alternative question to you, to all of you earlier, because I don't think I know, like I know some of the artists, or I know some of the originals, but I don't know any of the actual covers you have suggested today. So I think, like, what am I most curious to hear or think I'm gonna like most? I'm gonna go with the Ramona cover, Colin.
Yes. The one I
did
sold so badly, but it's such like it's 90s pop at its best. But okay, but we've got one quick question. What we said, we're finished with that though. We'll talk about. But on the week on our Instagram page, I asked my lovely followers like for some of their suggestions for best punk rock covers, and I got quite a few. Loads from Charlotte from Just Say No. She is currently on a maternity leave, and I guess the baby was sleeping and needed something to do. So they've got Shapeshifter, which is from the Josie and the Pussycat soundtrack, and that's Rehasher did a cover of that, which is brilliant. She also said Where Is the Love, which I assume she means is the what they called Black Eyed Peas, and that's by Bowling Fish Soup featuring Hanson.
Oh.
She also said Let It Go, Newfound Glory. And she also said, I Remember You by Skid Row. Apparently the Ataris covered that. The early Atari cover I know was some Boys of Summer.
Boys of Summer, yeah. I had that on my my short list.
Where have we gone? Chris, who's also Vinyl Systems, who writes, I can't talk anymore, writes for CPRW. He suggested Leatherface's versions of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You and Candle in the Wind.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Leatherface ones down there. Talking About Revolution was the one that I was probably going to go for. I mean, they just did amazing cover versions. Yeah, great band.
Yeah, we got James, who plays guitar in Baldhead and the Dreads, who like a New Cross sort of South London ska punk band. He's got Raining Blood by Public Access. I'm assuming he means the Slayer song Raining Blood. I have no idea who Public Access are, but James likes it. And he said all the recent Punk Rock Factory Disney covers, like Punk Rock Factory, one of these cover bands that seems to have popped up during lockdown. Where's it going? Where's more? Someone called Eric Hermella, who I don't know, but he suggested Iron Chic, Bonsai Goes to Bitburg, which I was very close to picking in my top ones. Marcus, who writes for the blog as well, he's said the Menzingers version of Straight to Hell. And Cobra Skulls, Subterranean HB, which I'm Homesick Blues, I guess he means by that.
Yeah.
Our pal Mackie, who has been on the podcast a couple of times, got Blink 182, Dancing with Myself, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, I Believe I Can Fly, and Take on Me, Real Big Fish. Emma of Colin's Punk Rock World fame and editor and Colin's girlfriend says Muncie Girls, Pet Cemetery. And she also suggested Bonsai Goes to Bitburg by a band called Cold Years as a, that's more of a poke at me to annoy me because we saw Cold Years play this song, and Bonsai Goes to Bitburg is my favorite Moan song, and it doesn't seem like it should be that hard a song to cover well, and they were terrible. Sorry, Cold Years. Everything else you did was really good, but your version of this song was awful. But they did release a really good album last year, though, so check them out. And Lara, who is a very regular member of the podcast, she suggested Alkaline Trio's version of Walk Away from TSOL.
Yes, that would have been my second choice if I didn't want to do all Alkaline Trio songs.
Yeah. So. That was on a Tony Hawk's game.
Yeah,
she did
send
me quite a long message saying like why it's her favorite and was quite passionate, but we've been talking for ages, and you just message Lara on Instagram and ask her about it. I'm sure she'll tell you. She'll appreciate that. So one last question. I think this is something Richard suggested in the week and hurt my head. Yeah, so he says, what song would you like to see covered that hasn't been covered before?
So it's more, what song would you like to see covered? And if possible, what band would cover it? Because I think that's going to be sort of where you can really sell this. So shall I start with the one that sort of prompted me to ask this question? Because I was thinking, I really want to hear this.
Please do.
So you've got to remember, and Rich, you'll probably remember this sort of better than Colin and Ilse, but in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a song by a band called James called Sit Down. And it was a terrible wedding song, basically, where everyone sat on the floor and did this horrible dance. The song itself is absolutely brilliant. You listen to the lyrics about it, and it's about sort of being the weirdos, being the misfits, and having a family. And you just think, actually, it's a perfect, in terms of what punk rock means, what punk rock stands for, is the perfect song. And I just think, throw that out by Iron Sheik, get them to sing it. It would be absolutely huge, because it's just asking for hundreds of people to be singing it along at the same time. So that's why I thought, right, what would you like to see sung and by who? And let's see if we can make it like a really, because it's got to be a terrible song as well. Not a terrible song, great song, but you know what I mean? Something that you think that's not really going to go, that shouldn't work. So I think it does. I think, put some double kicks in there, make it as fast as Cutesy Monster Man or Elm Street, and you're laughing. Yeah, it'd be perfect song.
I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear that.
Everyone would love to hear that. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
What was the terrible dance on the floor?
So you'd sit down in lines and you'd do sort of some horrible dance.
I know that. I can't remember the song, but I remember the dance.
The song is just encouraged everyone to sit down in like the sort of alcohol.
He used to sit on the edge of the stage as well, didn't he? When they were performing it, he would just sit on the stage, and everyone else would just sit down. Yeah, it was massive. It was a big track. Yeah, it
was a big song. You just think, well, why hasn't anyone thought? Do you know what? We can cover that, because it would suit a punk crowd, I think.
I've been to punk gigs and I don't want to sit on the floor. I won't get back up. I've got two for mine. I've got one. We're talking about the Muppets earlier, and the mana mana do 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 do. I want to see that as a ska song, because I think that would just be funny. And I like Just Say Nay. They used to cover Cabin Fever, like from Muppets Treasure Island, in their set. They never recorded it, which is a shame. So I think that'd be really good to do that. Like, if you don't know Just Say Nay, they're like a 1 million person ska band, like South London, sort of Kent region, who are incredible and just lovely people as well. And like my other one is Coolidge, like the Descendants song. I want to see that as like a really chilled out reggae song with like all like organs and all that kind of steel drums, and I think that would be brilliant. But there's a song about being a misfit, and it's like, but being cool with that, I guess. And what's cooler than steel drums? So that I'd like to see those. If anyone can make that happen for me, please. I mean, Just saying it, some of them might actually listen to this, so they please do that for me, please. Thanks. Ilse, you got any?
This was a very tough question, and I think I forgot to take into consideration that it shouldn't be a song that has been covered a lot before.
As long as it's not been covered by the band, I think that'll be fine. So yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, okay, so I reverse engineered this one because I just could not think of like a song I would want to see covered specifically, because there's like a million to choose from, as I said earlier. So I went to I came up with something based on the band I would like to see do a cover song, which is the band Orange, mostly because I'm also friends with them, and they're just great guys, great musicians, and they're rehearsing again after a very long time of not really doing anything. So I'm very excited that they're doing stuff again. They're a pop punk band. They've been around for a while. They started out on Hellcat, and that's like over 16 years ago. So. Although the rest of the lineup has changed, the frontman is still Joe Dexter, and he's a real performer. He's also a great musician, but he's very good on a stage. So I immediately figured he had to cover some sort of like 80s, bit dramatic, maybe sort of song, or at least that's the feeling I get a lot when I listen to the like 80s bangers. My initial response was It's My Life by Bon Jovi. I think that would be a lot of fun to hear in a cover, like pop punk cover set. I also my love for Poison by Alice Cooper was reignited, so that would be real cool, I think. the "Don't You Love Me" by the you or "Don't You Want Me" by the Human League. I think those would be wonderful.
Oh, fantastic choices.
Yes.
Poison would be brilliant. Yeah, love that. Yeah, really good.
All right, Rich, take us home with your. This has got to be big because it's the last thing.
Oh dear. Oh,
no
dear.
pressure.
Okay. I think. Okay. My favourite album, probably of all time. We shouldn't have favourites, I know, but it is probably Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables, Dead Kennedy's album, and I would love to hear an upbeat ska version of Holiday in Cambodia. You know, the subject matter is pretty intense, you know, with the killing fields and Pol Pot, 1970s and all that sort of stuff. So a real upbeat ska version, maybe by Bouncing Souls or Real Big Fish, or maybe even Suicide Machines, you know, something along those lines, doing a real horn section full of upbeat ska of this very downbeat song. I think that would be absolute quality.
Yes. I mean, that's the only Dead Kennedy song I really know, and yeah, that as a ska version, that would be. I think ska, like, if anything we've decided on this podcast is ska covers are the way. You
can't go wrong.
There's no wonder that's why bands got bigger, because their ska is just made for covering songs, it seems. Awesome. All right. Have we got anything else to talk about? This is where I still don't know how to end a podcast. And any other stuff? Thanks for listening. I don't know what to say now.
Can I do a quick plug for something? It's not really an event, but a band I know and love dearly, Smash the Statues. They're a melodic political hardcore band from the Netherlands. And they, I think about a month ago by now, they released a benefit stream, which is, you can find on YouTube if you donate or not, but they made this benefit stream to, in an effort to collect money for Sea-Watch, which is an organization that helps refugees in the Mediterranean Ocean, like a direct action sort of thing. So check the band out first off, Smash the Statues, and I'm sure you'll find a way to, on their website, to the stream, and hopefully donate some money if you can.
We can put a link for that in the description down below.
Sure, yeah. I'll
remind me and I'll do that. I'll write that down. Smash the Statues.
So nothing to do with the good people of Bristol tearing down Colston's statue, was it last year?
I know they've been around for a while, but it's very in the same Trayon brand, I think.
CPRW record is by the time this comes out, we may have released something, but we may not have. But I am working hard on it still, so check that out on Bandcamp if you please. We raise money for loads of different charities with different compilations we've released over the last 18 months now. I've been a bit quiet lately because I've been playing Football Manager and taking Braintree to the Premier League. And thank you, Ilse, Richard and Rich, for hanging out this afternoon and talking covers with us. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this one. I look forward to checking all the ones I don't know out this evening. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cool. It was a pleasure.
Cheers,
next time.
I think CPRW should be back by the time we are posting this, so please keep reading and checking out bands. Always support DIY bands, labels, venues, especially in the UK at the moment, because obviously with everything that's happened in the last year, things aren't as good as they were, so all the bands need support. Even we know lots of American bands aren't going to be able to come over, so go support your local bands, because if you don't support them, the venues will die and then they won't be able to bring over your favorite American ones anyway. So it's the same in the Netherlands and wherever you are based. Go and support your local bands because they're important. Thanks. Okay, I'll leave that there on that positive preachy note. Thanks everyone. Stay safe and goodbye.